So when I started off freelancing, I was on a small budget and was looking for a set of prime lenses to use on narrative work. At the time, the Contax Zeiss series was gaining popularity, and to my eye they offered fantastic image quality and outperformed other competitors at the same price, modifications included. This is my MMJ 50mm 1.4. I use it constantly, and it has a problem. It has always had a haze issue. The rear element group has a circular etched haze in it that causes flares to create this bloom effect that just drastically impacts the image. This is what flaring looks like on the 50mm, and we can compare that to the flare on my 85, and again against the 35. Then I had an idea. What if I could transplant the optics from a second lens into this one? I've already disassembled the set once to clean the glass and declip them. It's just a matter of finding another lens. Which brings us to this AEJ 50mm 1.4 that was listed for parts. You can see the front retaining filter ring just comes off, and it's missing a screw down in the focus helicoid, but the optics in it are perfect. So that's what we're going to try today. Let's head over to the workbench. First, we are going to unscrew the rear retaining ring with a tool called a lens spanner. It's essentially two adjustable poles with spiky and flathead ends that fit into grooves on the ring. Once the ring is loosened, we have separated two parts, the rear retaining ring itself and the rearmost focusing element. After this, we delve deeper into the lens and unscrew a simple spacer. This holds the rear lens element at a certain distance from the rear lens group. To remove the rear lens group, we'll use a set of tools that I don't know the proper name of, but everyone calls them rubber lens wrenches or friction rings. They come in various sizes and allow you to safely put pressure on lens elements in order to unscrew them. Once this is loosened, we have separated the rear element group, which gives us access to two elements. The first is our haze affected one, and the second is a cemented deep convex element that sits below the aperture blades. Once these elements are out, it's time to put our first lens to the side and do the same operation for our donor lens. We'll begin again by loosening the rear retaining ring. In this lens, instead of just the retaining ring being loosened, the entire lens element group unscrewed in one piece, making it much easier to disassemble. Before making this video, I could only assume that these element groups would be interchangeable due to manufacturing costs between the versions, but I couldn't confirm this until I attempted the repair. Luckily, it paid off, and their size and threading looked identical, meaning I could continue with the swap. While I was dusting the lens, I realised I missed a step. Quality vintage lenses sometimes have additional waterproofing measures in the form of this red goo. It's similar to Loctite and fills tiny gaps between the threading. Because I had unlodged it, I wanted to clean it off so that no lumps would fall onto the internal elements when I screwed it back into place. Now they're prepared, we can simply screw in the new element. Here I quickly tested the focus and aperture mechanisms to make sure they were working properly and I hadn't impacted them. Now for cleanup, we can reassemble the first lens element and place it into our donor lens. So, outcome of the day, we have a completely cleaned lens. Here's how flaring behaves now versus its previous outcome. You can see that it behaves similarly to the rest of the set now. I will admit that this fix is pretty much limited to this series of lenses. Having the AE version as a cheaper option to the MM series while still being constructed relatively similar makes an approach like this appropriate. If you wanted to fix the optics in something like a Takuma or a Canon FD lens, I feel as though your only option is to find exactly the same lens, at which point you're probably better off just replacing it as a whole. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.